I am always super excited when I'm at the client's place where you can see how an aquarium, a nature aquarium, is built in its natural place. This is where it should be. This is where we should enjoy it every day. Welcome to the beautiful world of aquascaping. This is David. The young green Aqua team member is the main designer of this layout. The dimensions of the aquarium are a bit challenging. This is a 146 by 34 by 50 centimeter or 250 liter Opti-White tank with black background. The challenge comes from the depth, 34 centimeters. In these aquariums with limited depth, you don't have much space to build your scape to have a lot of perspective. Because of the limited space, David had to design a higher structure, a big hill of Seiryu stones to fill up the vertical space in the aquarium. The rich details will compensate for the lack of depth and give the viewer plenty of visual clues to look at, breaking the space in the layout. It's not only the art of maintenance, but also the art of building a planted tank, which is a very nice flow, psychological process. We cannot pretend that we can create nature, but we can recreate nature. And that comes with an observation of the mountains, of the valleys, and then incorporating this experience into an underwater world with our own ideas, generating our own creations. The founder of the nature aquarium hobby was the Japanese man, Mr. Takashi Amano. He has also stressed on the importance of bringing nature closer to our everyday urban lives. Every activity that we pursue in relation of building or maintaining a planted tank brings us closer to nature. Even watching a planted tank will bring us closer to nature. We feel that we can be part of something bigger. We don't live by ourselves, and we can connect. And that connection somehow brings a lot of joy and a lot of peace to our minds. Let's not forget that the vision is always coming from a natural inspiration. It's coming from something that we experienced, that we saw during our trips, during our hikes, during our retreats. The wife of the client is Chinese. She has spent a lot of time in the Hutang Mountains, one of the centers of the Taoism in China. So this region has a lot of impact on the Chinese people culturally. She believes that Feng Shui is very important. If the nature is in harmony around us, we, humans, are in harmony too. Most of us live in cities with no nature around us. She says that if we live in these unnatural circumstances, we need to make an effort to bring the harmony of nature to our living space. The original idea, therefore, was to bring the natural impact of the Hutang Mountains into the underwater world David has designed for this layout. She also says that in the Chinese culture, people do not like these very sharp, very pointy forms. So this layout was designed to avoid these pointy, sharp edges, tips. We can comfortably say that this layout will be a very balanced, very lean style layout. Definitely not a wild style. This is more of a Zen style layout. This aquarium is designed to be in the living room, which is the center space of this home, and it is visible both from the sitting area of the living room and also from the staircase when you come down from the upper floor. Therefore, we needed to do a triangle style layout. This unique design space was purposefully built around the tank. So you can see that the lines, the vertical lines, are kind of leading the eye out of the aquarium or into the aquarium. This way the aquarium is organically built into the space. During the building of the layout, you always have to take into consideration that when you will plant the plants later, you will actually have a much softer visual appeal. Right now, with only the hardscape inside, you have a very wild feeling. You can feel the force of the nature. And that force of the nature will be somewhat diminished by the softer plants that David will introduce later. Some of the rocks will be covered by plants, and the effect of the rocks, the size of the rocks, will look a lot smaller when you add plants to the layout. After finishing the hardscape, the planting process is the next step. The planting process itself is not something we usually show in length because we do the same thing over and over again. This process is quite calming. Obviously, knowing what kind of plants you want to use in what location requires a little bit of experience or a little bit of learning beforehand. You don't want to use the higher growing plants in the foreground and the lower growing plants in the background because they will cover each other and the background will not be visible. What we do here is that we are using the foreground plants, the Monte Carlo, on the left side of the tank where you want to have an open space, and you want to use the stem plants in the background to cover vertical space a little bit more in the center of the aquarium, or maybe use some epiphyte plants and mosses on the rock structure. Some people use plants in patches to enhance the natural look, and some people use plants in lines, planting in lines to have this visual guide that would lead your eye to a certain point that the creator wants you to concentrate on. Here we are using the hair grass in patches to enhance the natural look. If you plant heavily from day one, you can help the biology. The plants can get rid of the ammonia much quicker, and you will have less algae if you're using more plants. This is only true for the beginning of the life cycle of a tank, but later on you can have problems because if the filtration or the technology or the CO2 injection is not planned properly, then you can have some issues. Right now, David is using the Staurogyne repens, which is a mid-ground plant, and he intends to use that in lines to kind of establish a curving structure in the layout, to lead the eye towards the end point in the case of each curvature. The Staurogyne repens plant can stay low if you trim it regularly. If you just let it grow, or if you don't have enough light intensity, then it will tend to get leggy or grow higher, like 10 centimeters or even more. We opted to use some higher growing stem plants which needs to be trimmed, and ideally the curvature of the trimming will follow the lines of the soil in the background. Also with the stem plants we do introduce the red color with the Ludwigia Super Red and the Rotala Vietnam HRA. David is using epiphyte plants in the crevices, the cracks between the rocks. That will enhance the layout with more detail as originally planned. Usually we don't use gel-type superglue to fix these plants to the rocks. If you can help it, you can speed up the process by just using the crevices. These plants will attach themselves to the rocks or into the soil by growing some roots. So by the time that you start trimming them, they will be easy to trim. Last step, introducing the mosses. The flame moss, as the name suggests, will grow upwards like a flame, and it will look great on this bonsai tree. Besides the flame moss, we are also using Riccardia moss. It will probably not grow up immersed as much though. Final images are coming here so that you guys can see and enjoy this in its final state. I hope that you guys like this build as much as I did. It's always great to see an aquarium built at a client's place in the living space where it belongs. Don't forget that you can support the channel. Don't forget that you can like, subscribe, be a member. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.